forgot to turn it on.
Live from the Santa Barbara neighborhood in Martinez Town, you're listening to 10 Drink Minimum with Chris, Billy, Michael, and Smiley.
All right. You can turn the monitor down a little. It sounds a little high. Welcome to 10 Drink Minimum, sponsored by Oscar Blues this week.
Woohoo!
Yeah, there we are.
Badass.
I know. I got some Priscilla right here. I want to thank Oscar Blues for sponsoring the show. Remember, if you want to sponsor a show, contact us, personal message me on Facebook, and we'll see what we can do. Billy's here, Michael's here, James is here, and I'm very excited from the Destiny Wrestling Organization, fighting out from behind the frontier. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
We have Hobo Hank on the show.
Yep. It's good to be here. Yeah,
Nice.
appreciate it.
Very cool.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
So Billy and I have seen you wrestle,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen you wrestle multiple times.
I've never seen it live, but I have seen some videos that you showed me.
Yeah. So how long have you been wrestling?
I've been wrestling professionally just over 20 years now.
Jeez Louise. And, I mean, this has definitely got to be a hobby, right? I mean, it can't be a full-time gig.
Yeah, it's not. I think in the early days, that's what I intended
Yeah.
it to be. I was hoping to be a big WWE star, but didn't work out that way. But no, it served me well. It's been a great hobby to have, and I wouldn't trade my time in the ring for anything.
Awesome. So,
I remember watching him. I just want to say, I watched you play actual real guitar on stage in the ring. I was like, this guy can play guitar. Hell yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You come out to Mr. Bojangles, and you were playing Mr. Bojangles.
Yes. Yeah, that's correct.
Turn this mic up a little.
I actually have a band when I'm not wrestling or working, living. I have a band as well. I'm a songwriter, singer-songwriter.
Nice.
So they thought that would be cool to kind of bring that world into the wrestling world. They said, think you can play Mr. Bojangles? I said, I think I can handle that. And
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty cool moment. I thought of actually playing it as I walk out through the crowd, but I'm not sure how he'd pull that off with all the
Yeah.
high-fiving and action.
Well, I mean, in that, when we saw you do that, like you came out and then, these Middle Eastern or, like Iranian dudes or whatever they were, they came out and they beat the crap out of you and then they hit you over the head with your guitar.
Right, yeah.
Was that your guitar?
It wasn't my guitar, but it was a real guitar. So,
Oh, man.
yeah, well, we thought that was kind of cool too, because I think a lot of times when you see that on television, you assume it's just got to be a prop, it's got to be gimmick.
Yeah.
But never seen anybody play a song first and then destroy it over someone's head.
Yeah.
It hurt. Yeah, there's no question about that. I still have the guitar. It's one of those keepsakes that I think I'll hold on to for the rest of my life, just to remember
little
that
pieces
moment.
and stuff like that.
I do, yeah. I have a little collection at home of just, I mean, you name it, from all kinds of matches I've had over the years. I've trash
Wow.
can lids and broken glass and barbed wire and all those things, and the guitar is amongst some of that stuff.
Just any of the memorable fights you've had,
yeah,
kind of a deal.
Yeah, and over the years, there's been so many that you forget. It's crazy, because sometimes the fans remember more than I do.
Yeah.
And they'll approach me a couple years down the road, and they'll say, "Do you remember that night when this happened and that happened?" And I don't. Nothing.
It's all those concussions.
Yeah, I think that probably has something to do with it.
Oh, man.
So in the later years, I started writing on those things, what the date was, who the match was with, just to kind of help jog my memory as I get into my former years.
I had that same kind of thing too, except for I was probably really drunk when somebody saw me play. It's like, hey, I remember seeing you play at this night place. It's like, I don't.
Yeah.
You were pretty trash. It's like, oh, that sounds about right.
Yeah, well, when you're in a band, that's pretty much par for the course.
Except, it's not as cool as like, oh, that's when I got hit in the head with a freaking chair.
Right.
Right.
They put a chair on my head and did a leg drop off the top turnbuckle onto the chair,
That's why he doesn't remember.
shattering my neck.
Right. See, and the fans don't understand that sometimes we can't see what actually happened. We feel it, but I don't have that bird's eye view of the actual action. And I certainly don't get to see other people's matches. So all the time you get, this rundown from a fan. And do you remember that night when so and so said this about you, and honestly, I don't, because I wasn't probably wasn't even at the arena yet.
Yeah.
You guys don't get to see each other's matches.
You can, and it depends on the venue. In some places you can kind of peek through the curtain, or some of the bigger shows I've done over the years, we may have a monitor in the back with a run
really?
a live feed, so we can see what's going on out there. But a lot of the times though, we can't, and
Oh wow, I didn't know that. It
Yeah.
always seemed like, yeah, like whenever I've ever done any like performance stuff, it's you usually get to see everyone else's stuff.
right.
I didn't. You guys just you're like sequestered in the back, just getting ready.
Yeah, for the most part, and it depends again on the arena or the venue. Sometimes there's a one locker room for everybody. Sometimes there's two.
Oh wow.
Then that locker room may be half a block away once you go down a couple hallways. So.
Oh wow.
Can I ask how you came up with the character, or what prompted you to actually like, oh, I'm going to be a hobo now?
That's a good question.
How did you come? Yeah. How did you come up with the character?
It's a long story, but well, we got 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
I had been wrestling already for probably 4 years, and I used to do a totally different character. So when I debuted, I was called the Fireman.
The fireman.
The Fireman. Actually, originally I was called the Black Angel. So
Oh, were you like a bad guy?
I was a bad guy, and I wore a mask with flames all over the mask. I had flames down my black pants,
Oh wow.
and
This was 20 years ago, right?
this was 20. Yeah, this was back
That makes
in
more sense.
'96, and kind of looked like a luchador, but obviously I'm a white guy. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I billed myself from Los Angeles, California. I was super arrogant. I would go out every night and just flirt with people's girlfriends and
As a fireman?
as the fireman. Yeah, so.
The flirty fireman.
Yeah, and I mean I like doing that. It was fun because you get to say things on the mic in front of a lot of people that you would never ever say in real life.
Right.
But one night I was working in El Paso. I was working for Global Championship Wrestling at the time, and
Oh really?
we used to do we would shoot 2 television programs on the same night. So we would drive down. It would take about 4 hours. It was kind of like they used to do the old Thunder tapings or
yeah.
Nitro tapings. So we would tape one full show, we'd take a quick break, and then another 2 hours we'd tape another show.
Wow.
And one show would air on Friday night following that, and then the next show would air the following week. So one night I was getting ready to take off, getting dressed again, and the promoter came up to me and he said, "I got this idea. What do you think of becoming a hobo?" Because I used to have really long hair. It was about halfway down my back.
Okay.
And I was much younger then. I guess I was probably 19 or 20. He said he thought it'd be cool if we put the world championship belt on a homeless guy. So would you consider doing it? And I said, well, yeah, I'll do that for the belt. And I actually changed my mind because 2 weeks had passed. It was time to drive down and do the show. And I got cold feet about it because I'd never wrestled in front of anybody without a mask on, and I had never been a good guy. I wasn't even sure I knew how to do that.
Right.
And I really didn't want to, go out in a ring and act drunk and act the fool.
Yeah.
and
You had to act drunk? They made you...
Yeah, that was the idea. They wanted me to pretend I was drunk, pretend to do all the bad stereotypes of
Yeah.
a vagrant. And I didn't want to influence kids like that. There's a lot of kids in the arena, and so I thought I should take the high road and perhaps bow out of that. And I called the booker that morning about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I said, "Man, I can't do that. I just don't think I could pull it off." And he said, "Well, we already advertised. You're already on that poster, and we really can't back out. So do us a favor, come tonight, do it one time. If you hate it, we'll scrap the idea. We'll just give the fans what we've advertised." So we drove down. I did it, and I tried to sabotage it. I tried to do it, just stupid things in the ring. I was come tonight. I was stealing people's shoes. I was just going nuts with it, and the crowd erupted. They were so into it.
You were stealing people. That's all.
Yeah, it was. I was drinking beer. I guess I did do the beer thing, but I went out and got a hot dog in the middle of the match. I just took off and grabbed. Went to the snack bar and
So you had to keep coming up with the sabotage kind of stuff throughout, like after coming up with the Hobo Hank.
Well, yeah, I was trying to scrap that idea that night, and the crowd reaction was so ridiculous. I don't, to this day, I don't remember. There was a big star on that show, and it was somebody from WCW, and I don't remember if it might have been Juventud Guerrera,
Oh, okay.
and it might have been Conan. I don't remember.
I feel like you would know if it was Juventud because of all the stories I've heard.
I've worked with him a couple times. I've
Oh,
worked with
okay.
all those guys a couple times, but
yeah.
but that particular night, I don't remember who it was, but I got a bigger reaction than they did.
Oh, wow.
And so as soon as I walked down, up the ramp to go to the dressing room again, the promoter and the booker grabbed me and they said, "This is gold, man. You are Hobo Hank. It's over for you." So from that point on, anytime I wrestled in El Paso, I couldn't shake it. That was the gimmick.
Oh, wow.
You
Yeah.
could not be Hobo Hank. You had to be Hobo Hank in El Paso at least.
Yeah. It was just
You can flirt with my girlfriend. She don't like homeless people.
it was crazy. So yeah, I worked down there for a couple more years, and then I was working for other companies at the same time. I'd travel around. But when they finally kind of broke up, disbanded, and I was working primarily up in Amarillo again, because I worked up there quite a bit.
Well,
up
there
in the
was
Panhandle.
for a long time there wasn't one here at all
That's correct. Yeah.
because they wouldn't allow it. Right? There was regulations, and they were trying to boxing. From what I understand, the people who did boxing and MMA were really trying to keep you guys out.
Right. Well, and really, what it was is, it was an old set of laws. Back in the day, wrestling enthusiasts and promoters wouldn't admit to what wrestling was. The term entertainment was never flung around, and they just wouldn't admit it. So back in those days, they would write
Kayfabe.
exactly. The
We also
kayfabe
would have
were-
accepted they just had small dicks, and that's why they allowed it.
Yeah.
that could be. Don't
Well,
know.
it was like protect the business at all costs.
Absolutely. Yeah. So they would protect it so far to where they would rather deal with these laws that were very difficult to work around. And so we were put under the same umbrella as boxing.
Yeah.
And, to the point where we had to do weigh-ins and
Really?
physicals. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yes, because that's what you do. Boxing.
Yep. Yep. So for the first couple of years of my career, first lot of years of my career, actually, probably the first half, the only time I wrestled on New Mexico soil was maybe a handful of shows that we had done that were regulated. I think I worked maybe in Alamogordo. I ran a couple shows. But a majority of the New Mexico shows that I worked were in Indian reservations.
Oh,
'cause
really?
there was no laws.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's tight.
One would wonder how you got transportation to such places.
It's amazing what hitchhiking will
Yeah,
for you,
that's
man.
true, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. So, where did you train at?
I trained with a gentleman named Ernest Baca, and
Okay.
he lived in just south of Belen. I used to live in Albuquerque. I grew up in Albuquerque, and I moved down to Los Lunas when I was about 14 years old. And the day I moved there, I met my wife, and I've been with her 21 years this week, actually. So
Aw.
I'm sure she's watching. So happy anniversary, baby!
The day you moved down there?
The day I moved down there, yeah, we went to the store and ran into her. She was we had family members were friends, so they made the introduction. But
Oh, that's serendipity.
yeah, we started dating 6 months later, and we've been together for 21 years. So
Nice.
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you.
This was Los Lunas?
This is in Los Lunas or
Nice.
Belen.
Belen. She was probably pretty tough.
I
Then.
actually need to go to like Los Lunas.
Yeah,
now.
she's a Puerto Rican from Belen, man. So
Puerto Rican from Belen.
yeah, so taking chair shots, that's nothing to me. It's
Yeah.
the ring is like my sanctuary.
Nice.
Nah, she's
I
a sweetheart.
get into the ring just to get away from all that stuff.
Tonight we're gonna throw you off the top turnbuckle, pile drive you into a chair.
Yeah.
Nah, that's okay. Will I
That
be in
totally
a coma?
works.
How long will I be in a coma for? Do
Yeah.
you think?
Should have seen my honeymoon. Is
No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure she's amazing.
She is. She's a wonderful woman.
Yeah.
Um,
Speaking of that, there's people watching at home. You can call in 505-715-6511. The number is on the bottom of the screen here. So call in if you want to ask Hank a question about wrestling, or just want to call in and, just don't do the order a pizza thing. Yeah. Don't do the pizza ordering thing.
Unless you actually order
order
a
us,
pizza
yeah.
And have it sent to
us.
us.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you've been wrestling for 20 years. What's the biggest match you've ever had?
Oh, That's a good question. I've probably had 400 to 500 matches,
Wow.
something like that. Yeah, I've had a lot of big ones. It just depends on the company and the time, I guess. And last time I was on an interview, I talked about Day of Destiny. Oh, forgive me, 6, I think it was 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Joe Quesada and I headlined that show.
Okay.
We were in a steel cage for the heavyweight championship.
Joe's a cool guy. I kind of know
Yeah.
Joe. Not well, but we've talked before.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. And
His
he's a great
ex-girlfriend is one of our best friends, and she did the national anthem one time at one of the newer shows at the Westside Community Center.
wrestler. Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
She got to go in the back. I was so jealous.
Yeah. Well, now you guys can come in the back. Just sneak in with me. It's fine.
We'll sneak in.
You just made his
We're-
day.
Yeah.
We're Hobo's entourage.
That's right.
Yay!
That's right. Yeah, that was a pretty cool show. Because
Yeah.
it was the first time I'd ever won a heavyweight championship belt anywhere, and it was the first time I ever worked inside of a steel cage,
Oh, man.
which was cool too. I don't know. I've done I like wrestling Mosh Pit Mike a lot,
Yeah.
and so there was we main evented a show back in like 2010, I think it was, and I won the extreme title that night.
Okay.
And that was just a fantastic match. We took it to the limits and had a really good time. So that was probably my favorite match.
Interesting.
That's
But
tight.
yeah, there was also a show I did back in like '01 that was literally all stars, just some of the biggest names in wrestling from when I grew up watching it,
Yeah.
and then me. So I was completely out of place on that event, but to work a show with. Everybody was. It was Jake the Snake Roberts
Oh, wow.
and Abdullah the Butcher and
Oh.
God, yeah, it was
I'm a wrestling fan since I was 5. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to say anybody I wouldn't know.
sure. Well, to be 19 years old and drinking in a bar with those guys after
I
the
bet.
show,
Oh, I
because
bet
you-
the stories.
you worked the same show as they did and you stay in the same hotel. That was a pretty cool
And
moment.
Jake the Snake Roberts is known as probably the greatest ring psychologist that has ever lived.
Absolutely.
What
You
does
know,
that even mean?
You could probably explain it better than I can. I
A,
mean,
a ring psychologist?
so a match is a story,
Yeah.
and if you do it right, it's not just two guys that get in the ring and they just slam each other around. There's an actual storytelling to it, and getting the mark or the person to believe the story that's being told in the ring. For example, you're kicking somebody in the leg over and over and over again, and the guy that you're kicking in the leg, he sells the injury. Say he turns it around and he starts fighting back, and he goes to suplex you, but his leg goes out because it's weakened. I mean, that's telling the story and getting you to believe that he's actually
Oh.
hurt. So there's like,
They're like, Allah, he hit his legs.
yeah. I mean, am I explaining it correctly?
Yeah,
There's,
well put. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
There's, it's getting the story that you're without words, telling a story with physical violence, but yeah, and doing everything the way you should, not just getting in there and doing a bunch of high spot maneuvers and getting the crowd to pop. I mean, it's actually, Jake the Snake Roberts would get you to believe that you're like, wow, this guy's really menacing, and he's going at any moment he could just take out the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was very good about that. His promo work was also among the best.
Oh,
Hands
Jake,
down.
Jake is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, Roddy Piper was probably the best, but my hero growing up, I'm a Ric Flair fan,
Sure.
big time.
Nothing wrong with that.
Ric Flair was also one of those people who could tell the story in the ring, and then late in his later years, he kind of he would do the same match every time. And I could sit there and tell you, I was like, okay, they're going to throw him into the turnbuckle. He's going to flip over the turnbuckle. He's going to try to run. They're going to clothesline him. It got to where you could literally, because he just, he kind of phoned it in a couple times. Which, I don't know, maybe that happens. But who was your favorite growing up? Who was the wrestler that got you into the business? That you were like, I love that dude.
Yeah, I was pretty young. I was probably 7 when I really got into it. But Ultimate Warrior certainly caught my eye.
Nice.
Now knowing what I know now, maybe not so much, but
No.
but he was sure attention grabbing.
When you
back
were a
then.
kid, like that guy was you're like, wow, there's
Yeah.
no way someone could beat that guy. He's so physically imposing.
Yep.
And he was
Absolutely.
wearing 3 different colors of neon.
Yeah,
Dude,
I only
it
have
was
one.
the 90s. That guy was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got 3 different neons on.
And just that entrance where he just full throttle ran to the ring, slid under, and just ended the match in less than a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
You were just like, whoa. Like between him and the Road Warriors. I mean, that was like the Road Warriors thing.
right. Yeah,
like-
the Road Warriors were great too. That was my favorite tag team, hands
Oh.
down.
And they were the real deal.
They were.
Like they talk about the real deal. Like they were bouncers
Mm-hmm.
that lifted weights, and then they were seen in a gym, and they're like, hey, you guys should wrestle. And they learned how to wrestle, but literally, if they wanted to kick the shit out of you in the ring, they could, and would.
That's a fact. Yes,
That's a fact.
I have never wrestled the
Yeah.
Road Warriors, but I have wrestled on shows with the Road Warriors.
Oh,
so,
jeez.
yeah, those guys are as solid as a brick house, man.
How do you? I mean, do you still follow the industry? Somewhat.
I don't watch wrestling. I haven't for a long time,
Yeah.
and that's I don't want to bag on what it is these days,
Yeah.
but it doesn't suit my taste.
I'm with you.
To me, wrestling is an art, and that's just
Yeah.
not the kind of art I enjoy. So,
Right.
So do you think that the wrestling nowadays that people see is more theatrical, more on the more crazy entertainment side than more of the wrestling style?
They've lost the wrestling.
They've
part of
lost
it.
the wrestling and the stories that they've created for all the wrestlers.
They do, and it's even deeper than that. It's going back to the psychology of it. There are some great wrestling psychologists in this business, and it really does. It is everything that happens from the moment you hit the curtain to the moment you go back through the curtain. The way that we walk, the way that we look at people, the way that how fast we go through our entrance, the way we tie our shoes prior to the match. There's the guys that do it right. There's a lot of little tiny details that go into it that you may not even pick up on consciously, but subconsciously, I think people do. And when you're trying to evoke emotion out of a large group of people, several hundred or several thousand, it takes all those little details to really get it to ripple through that large of a venue. What's happening in wrestling today is a lot of the guys are just getting trained the same way. They're all learning how to do the mechanics of the moves and the matches, and they're very good at it. And they're very athletic. Some of the most athletic wrestling we've ever seen. But I think
By far.
it lacks the emotion because those guys are put together in a match, and then it is produced. It's produced prior to going on the air.
Yeah, they even have they script out all.
So it's all scripted now.
They script out their
Completely.
promos, everything.
Completely. And in the olden days, even on television, what you were seeing was somebody who had maybe been given an idea of a character, as I have, but they developed it into something that was truly, it was part of them. And so they were given that avenue to come out live and portray that character, and it was less scripted. So they could do things that were more like that character.
Yeah.
And I think the characters came through the television a little more.
I think the end of that was Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, where they actually let him just come out and the character came out, and it really shocks me that happens like that, because some of the people that are in the background are like Arn Anderson,
Right.
and you would think Arn Anderson would just be totally against every bit of that, because he was one of those people that was great at ring psychology.
He really was.
Yeah. I love the Four Horsemen. They were all, the original Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, J.J. Dillon, and Ric Flair. That was like the, Saturday afternoons with my dad. I was a kid watching it, not knowing that they're in a small studio with 50 people in there,
Right. Yep.
and Ric Flair's out there ripping his shirt off, red,
Yep.
screaming into the camera, Dusty Rhodes,
And it made you feel it at home. You could feel it right through the camera.
Oh, and I was like, man, he needs to kick Dusty Rhodes' ass, because there's no way that guy could beat Ric Flair. That was just me, because Dusty Rhodes would get in the ring and he's the American Dream, and he's just morbidly obese big guy,
Right.
that could move around the ring like nobody's business.
Yeah, that's something you would just never see. These days, it's all guys with great
Yeah.
bodies,
Yep.
little black tights, using their real names half the time. And I just don't, I haven't turned on the television and seen anybody with the exception of Bray Wyatt, that has caught my attention in
He's
the last.
good. He's
8
really
years.
good.
I think he's fantastic, and it breaks my heart a little bit. I wish that he existed back when I used to watch
Yeah.
it as a kid, because I think if
Billy
they
likes
would've-
him.
I
yeah,
like him a lot.
Yeah, he's awesome. And had he been allowed to just run with that character to the fullest extent, the way
Yeah.
that he would have back then, I think we would be seeing magic.
Oh, and he's a third generation.
Oh yeah.
He's Barry Windham's son.
He's IRS.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. I'm sorry. He's Barry Windham's nephew.
Mike
Mike Rotunda's
right.
kid, and Mike Rotunda married Barry Windham's sister,
Right.
and they had a child. That's right. And then Bo Dallas is the other one.
Are you guys spitting like conspiracy theories or what's going on? What are you just naming off names?
Oh no. So Barry
Oh,
Windham.
yeah,
Barry
I
Windham was one.
forget. You guys don't follow wrestling, do you?
Yeah.
Not like in the last 10. I don't know.
Yeah,
Chris,
it's
Chris
been
will
a
put
really,
it. Thing is,
really long
Chris
time.
will be like, tonight we're gonna fucking watch whatever. We're gonna
Yeah.
watch the or the Royal Rumble
Yeah.
or whatever.
Have you seen AJ Styles?
I've seen some of AJ's work, and I think he's a great worker. He's a
Oh
great
my
wrestler.
gosh. So the fact that he went to WWE, like he went to TNA,
Mhm.
which is in the process of being sold. I don't know if you saw that.
I did. I heard that. Yes.
Did you see who the people are wanting to buy it?
WWE for
and,
sure.
And Billy Corgan.
Billy. Well, okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Billy Corgan is the president of TNA right now.
That would. Honestly, I think.
I hope he gets it.
Yeah, I do too. I think at least it would be interesting. At least there's something different. And
Well, he really loves it. Like he's a big
Yeah.
fan. But so AJ went from TNA, where he was pretty much their guy that they built up, and he went to Japan, and he did the Bullet Club, with the and then with all the Bullet. Did you ever follow any of that stuff?
a little bit.
So the Bullet Club was all members, all foreign wrestlers coming into Japan would they formed a group called the Bullet Club, and they were like the evil organization in Japan.
Sure.
And so he became the leader after Finn Balor left and went to WWE. So then he got to come back. He got to come to WWE, and I was really worried about him coming to WWE because WWE, like, they'll take a wrestler, and you have like wrestlers that have like they can do 200 moves, and they'll scale them down to like 20, and they're all when you go out, do these 20 moves, but these 3 for sure. And they'll turn these moves into like their signature moves. So you'll have this guy who, like, you watch him in Japan, and he'll put on an amazing match with all these moves, and he'll come to WWE, and every week he'll come out and he'll do the same 20 moves.
Right.
And you're like, what the hell happened here? But they actually this time have let him come out and do kind of whatever he does, and that blew me away.
That's what needs to happen. I think.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, when we were kids and the wrestling that we loved, the characters that we were
Yeah.
so in love with did not come from WWE manufacturing. That came from AWA. It came from
EC Dub.
USWF and
Yep.
all these
Oh man.
all these territorial leagues, and guys like Vern Gagne were making stars. They built those guys.
Larry
by the time
Zbyszko.
right. So
Yeah.
by the time we got them on television, they were already ready to rock and
Oh,
roll.
hell yeah. You had Larry Zbyszko, you had Dean Malenko. I loved watching Dean Malenko wrestle
I did
because
too.
he would get in the ring, and they called him the man of 1,000 holds. And he would do, every match you saw, he would do moves you'd never seen before, and you're like, holy shit. So I would want to watch him. I wouldn't go out there, and he would do the same, like Chris Jericho's a great example. He came to the WWE, and he excellent mic worker, comes in there, and he does the same, like, 5 moves every match. Where when he was in WCW, he was like all over the place, He did some amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, he has gotten a little older now, but yeah. So WWE tends to water people down, I feel.
That's a fair assessment, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Never worked for them, but I assume that if I ever had that opportunity, that they would shape this character into whatever they felt like it needed to be, and it would.
They're all,
probably
you
go
need a new dirty jacket.
exactly. Yeah. Maybe sequins or something.
I'm not down with the orange. It's got to be green.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
no, I'm out.
Did you ever see, okay, so there was a wrestler for XWF, Homeless Jimmy.
I have seen Homeless Jimmy.
Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
I watched that. To me, that wrestling, I enjoyed it. I watched one of their tournament shows where they did like a hardcore tournament.
Right.
And Homeless Jimmy came out with a shopping cart, and some dude power bombed him onto the shopping cart, and I was like, that. Oh my god! I was like, how do you walk in 10 years from after doing stuff like that?
That hurts.
I felt really bad for that guy. Have you done crazy hardcore matches like that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I've done a lot of hardcore matches. I don't enjoy watching. It goes back to psychology. Even with the hardcore wrestling, there has
Yeah.
to be psychology. There has to be
Right.
a reason why these guys are fighting.
Right.
There has to be a method to the madness and a pacing to the match. And most of that of those really true hardcore organizations, it just gets to just be blood and guts.
Yeah.
So without that, I don't have any interest. But no, I've done my fair share of all those.
Have you bladed?
things. Sure. Yeah.
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 What's that?
Bladed is they take a little razor
Oh,
and
okay.
they fold it up and they put it in the tape on their arm, and then whenever they get slammed into something,
For
the
theatrics.
the other wrestler tries to get the attention to him, and they cut their head, and then when they get up, they're bleeding. You're like, oh my god, he got hit into the pole and he's bleeding. My favorite blader of all time is Steve Carino.
Yeah. He does. He's got his own way of doing it, and
Yeah.
it works.
So Steve Carino was this wrestler that wrestled in ECW, and his gimmick was ECW was like all hardcore wrestling, extreme, tables getting smashed through, chairs used. So his gimmick was, I'm the anti-extreme wrestler. So he'd bring a chair into the ring, sit it down, grab the guy in a headlock, and then sit down in the chair. And that's how he used the chair, And so he had blonde hair. He dyed his hair blonde like Ric Flair and those guys. And in the old days, Ric Flair would have his hair blonde, and then he would be in his pay-per-view and with Terry Funk, and Terry Funk would pile drive him through a table, and then of course Ric Flair was bleeding, and his hair would turn red from the blood. Steve Carino's take on it was they would whip Steve Carino into the corner turnbuckle, and he would start bleeding.
Right. Yeah. For nothing at all.
From literally nothing at all. They'd body slam him, and he's bleeding from the head,
Yep.
and his hair would get red.
Yeah. 30 years ago, the wrestling mafia would have killed him for that. But
Yes.
these days, when you got movies like The Wrestler that show it up close and personal, it's kind of hard to deny it.
I just love that comedy because
Yeah.
it was like they whipped him into the turnbuckle. He's bleeding.
Right. If you ever heard the conversations that happen backstage at some of the events, it's a shame some of the things that don't actually make it to the ring, because
Yeah.
that we all we kick around ideas that
Yeah.
are just ridiculous, and some of them make it out there. You never know.
Yeah.
Oh, the thing is, like, I really, really hate when Chris is like, "Hey, check this out," and he'll put on a YouTube video of ECW, and this guy has like a little
Cheese grater?
grater, and I'm like, "The fuck is?" I can't watch this. I'm sorry, I cannot watch this.
And it's not like, here's the thing with that, and maybe you can explain this. This is where I think wrestling is insane. Like people say, well, it's fake or whatever, not, and I'm like, okay, but let me explain something to you. There was a match where the Hardy Boys wrestled against, and James is slurping beer off of table. There was a match with the Hardy Boys, and I think it was Edge and Christian. It was a cage match. There was a spot in the match where they're outside the cage, and it was a cage with a roof, and Jeff Hardy's up on top of the cage, and like Edge is laying on the floor. Well, he does a swanton bomb off, like a front flip off, and Edge moves, and he lands flat on his back on the concrete. And everybody's all, well, that happens. I go, no, here's the thing. They planned that out, where he's like, I'm going to jump off, you move, and I'll land flat on my back on the concrete. Right. That, to me, is insane, that you would even fathom that idea.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You never know what you're going to see, and that would be a case of those guys. They called for that, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
They got some Mad Dog on. Is that a sponsor also? Or?
No.
Wow.
No,
He's
it
just
for
about
you.
to drink it.
It was
the
me,
problem.
and I was like, yeah, we're going to have a hobo on tonight, so we need some hobo wine.
Wow, that takes me back to my El Paso wrestling days.
And so you hand it to me?
Yeah, right.
Well, you're our hobo.
You
Our
used to be a
hobo.
Yeah.
You're
Man.
our hobo.
I think we kept those guys in business for about
Oh,
2.5
gosh.
years. So
So,
Oh, Mogan and David? They're fine.
they're good.
so I don't watch a lot of wrestling anymore. I mean, I kind of watched it as a kid and kind of fell out of it. Do you think now, like, the local, like, wrestling matches that you do are more extreme than what we see on like the TV, like, nowadays? Like, is there more
Yeah.
craziness that happens
Yeah.
in the local areas than it would be on TV.
You see more wrestling.
Yeah, you
That's-
see a lot
that's-
more wrestling.
That's true.
See a lot less talking. I mean, we do our fair share of promos, and so we do have to get the
Yeah.
story across, and it's hard for us. It's different when you're on television, regardless if it's WWE or all the times that I've worked on television. It's nice because you have announcers that support you.
Right.
So as you're trying to get your story across, you have two guys sitting behind microphones that are literally
Yeah.
speaking what you're trying to achieve. And you also have the benefit of the same fans tuning in week after week after week, whereas in our case,
It's once a month.
yeah, and if you're lucky, that same fan will come 12 times a year. But if not, they might hit 4 or 5 shows.
I try, but you did one in Sandia Park. I can't drive out there.
Sorry, I didn't choose that.
I
but,
know.
It was a fun event.
Yeah.
I'll go back
Well,
up there.
did you guys get a lot of like crowd out there?
It was a pretty good turnout. Yeah,
Nice.
I was surprised, and
I really wanted to go, and I was like, it's Sandia Park. That's really far.
Well, we had done a meet and greet that day. Where,
Yeah.
fans that came early could come meet me and get autographs with Joe Casada and myself.
Oh, okay.
And I told Joe just prior, I said, we're going to be sitting in an empty parking lot, man. That is just a fact. And shockingly, there was probably 70 people that showed up
Dang.
That's tight.
2 hours early just to come shake hands and get pictures,
Well,
which is cool.
I started going like I started to see like Facebook posts about I don't know a year and 8 months ago, and so then I was like, oh wow, there's wrestling, and so then I got some people and I said, let's go to this thing at the Armory. Is when you guys were at the Armory, and we went, and I mean there was probably maybe 80 to 100 people,
Right.
I would say. Now you guys are at the Westside Community Center mostly. Like usually that's kind of like your, or I don't know. If
It's our preferred spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say you probably get 100 to 50 on average, probably to 200 maybe.
It's more than that, actually.
Oh really?
Yeah.
It's quite a bit.
Yeah, it's in the 250 range on average, but
And I try to go to all of them, and I see a lot of the same people.
uh
You know, you definitely your ringside people are almost always the same people.
yeah, they're the ones that can afford the
Yeah.
$25 tickets.
Well, they not only can afford it, they go out of their way to afford it.
That's correct.
Which goes to show that you're putting on a good. I mean that goes to show that you're putting out a product that they want to support. I mean, you know, they may or may not have the money, but they do it anyway. You know.
Oh man,
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
just funny to see like people just the guys who are just so fucking pissed off at these guys.
Oh, yeah.
and just yelling in the face of the whoever.
Oh, when you fought the guy
Yeah.
that was like Iranian or whatever,
Yeah.
he almost got in a fight in the crowd.
Oh, he did. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was that absolutely almost turned very bad for all of us.
I was sitting there like, I was like, do they really think that? I mean, that's what's going on
don't
over there?
ruin it for them, Chris.
Yeah,
They think it's real.
it's still real to me. Damn it! Look
Yeah.
up that guy.
So do people actually come up to you and say like, do something weird that you're a Hobo Hank? Like they try to give you money or anything like that?
All the time. Yeah, I've had. I love being a good guy. That's way better for me these days. Yeah, I've had parents tell me that every time they drive by the frontier that their children make them go through the alley just to see if I might be hanging out back there. And
That's amazing.
I actually got asked a while back. They asked me if I would consider doing a Hobo Hank birthday party. This kid wanted his birthday party to be Hobo Hank, and I wasn't able to make the actual party, but I did meet him at a restaurant and took him a bunch of autographed pictures and
Aw.
T-shirts and stuff, and hung out with him for lunch for his birthday.
Oh yeah, you're definitely the kids love you.
They
my
do.
God.
Yeah,
Oh
they
my
do.
That's awesome.
So when you come out, you do you kind of come out through the crowd. You don't kind of, you do.
Right.
And then the first time I ever saw you, you like stood right next to me on the chair, and I took a picture of you, like standing up on the chair.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go and like, as time has gone on, I've noticed people now bring like posters where they'll put like chips and a Coke on there to feed you.
Yeah. People buy me food. People hand me money.
Yeah. And
cool.
one of them, you have this ongoing, I mean, it's been a year now probably or longer. You've had this ongoing feud with it's been longer than a year. Feud with the director of competition, Matthew, is it Robles?
Right. Yeah. So DWO is actually I joined DWO in 2008,
Okay.
and that was here in Albuquerque.
Wow. Is
So-
it that old?
Yeah, it is. They I think they launched in 2006, somewhere around there, and I
Yeah.
was running my own promotion, Legends and Amateurs Wrestling (LAW)
Really?
at the time. Yeah, I actually owned a company with Mosh Pit Mike and Thunder.
No kidding.
And we joined up with DWO, and so we had worked with them for probably 5 years, 6 years, and then we took a little break because they were working out all the details with the athletic commission. So we
Yeah.
were off for about a year and a half, and then we relaunched. In, I think it was 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Back at there was a venue on 5 Points at the time. 5 Points and Bridge. Is that,
Okay.
Was that a real cross street?
Yeah. I wouldn't hang out
That
there
does
late at night.
exist, but yeah.
So it's,
No.
it's not just wrestling. It's like a lot of the administration part of it. Like you have to like get permits. You have to be on the
Oh, yeah.
phone with people. You have to get security, pay security, have write checks, all that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
It's a full-fledged business. Yeah, when I was promoting shows, you have to do all that, and then you deal with everybody. You deal with the
Yeah.
fire marshal. You
Yeah.
deal with emergency response. You deal with doctors, and
Yeah, because you have to have them there
yeah,
in case someone's like, I'm going to do a high spot, and then they mess up and shatter their leg on the fence outside the ring. You have to be able to take them out in an ambulance
That's
Just-
crazy.
yeah.
Just
Yeah,
like
it's-
we have me here.
exactly.
in case this happens during the show. Who knows?
You're the mouth-to-mouth guy.
Yeah,
All right.
that's the guy.
Well.
So, how long have you been in this feud with director of competition Matthew Robles?
Well, for 4 years with that little
4
break
years?
involved. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he actually cost me the world title when I lost it.
So people that are watching that don't know, Destiny Wrestling is a local wrestling organization here in the Albuquerque territory area. You guys tour around a little bit.
Sure.
You kind of go out to some. I've seen you guys go all the way to Texas.
Yeah, we've done some shows
Yeah.
in Texas.
So you're kind of like if I was, for lack of a better, you're like the Hulk Hogan of the Destiny Wrestling. You're like the biggest good guy.
I'll take that. I appreciate
Like
it.
you are.
Yeah.
In
I mean-
our hearts, yes, you are.
When you come out, like your storyline, like no matter what, you may not have a match scheduled. They have you come out
Sure.
and do a thing, and the crowd goes crazy. The little kids go crazy. I don't think there's anyone else that has that kind of pop, in the organization that I've seen.
Oh, thank you.
So you're kind of like the main good guy, like the John Cena, I guess. I don't know. So
Sure.
that's why, because you're in the storyline with the Vince McMahon character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's why I say that, because he always comes out and he's trying to stop you. He's trying to stomp you down, and he'll come out and say, Hobo Hank has to wrestle 3 times tonight, and then you'll have to wrestle 3 matches,
Yeah.
and then you win them all, and he's like angry, and
It's like, oh, fuck you.
I've been foiled again,
I hate wrestling 3
Commissioner.
times a night, by the way, just for the
yeah.
record, if anybody's listening. I'm getting too old for that.
Yeah. What is your favorite finishing maneuver? I mean, because I've noticed you do the tornado DDT.
Yep.
Is that your finisher?
It is, yeah. Back in the day, the early days of Hobo Hank, I used to do a Hurricane Rana off the top
Oh,
rope.
jeez.
We called it the Hoboken Rana.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the whole idea was, you just don't expect somebody that looks like me to be able to pull something like that off. And
Hey, the Sandman could do it.
that is true. Yeah, I'm
his
pretty
was,
similar.
His was the Heineken Rana.
the Heineken Rana. I had the Hoboken Rana. But I botched that move very badly one night, and I dislocated this arm
Oh,
severely and almost broke my neck. So
jeez.
I just saw that, and that's insane.
What's that?
The tornado DDT.
Yeah. Go look up the Heineken Rana.
I will say this: the moves that you guys do in wrestling is, I'm like, how the hell did they manage to pull that crap off? It's insane.
Well,
So
Practice.
props to that for even being able
What
to
I
pull
love-
that move
what I
in
love-
general.
Thank you.
What I loved, and I really feel this was WCW that did this, is in the 90s, like the transition from the 80s to the 90s. In the 80s, you had the American style, because there's different styles of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And in the 80s, it was the American style, the body slam, the punch, the kick, the headlock, suplex, all that. And then you started to see, as the 90s came along, the Japanese style and the Mexican style kind of come in more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you started seeing the Heineken Ranas, the moonsaults,
Mm-hmm.
the people that are flying out of the ring, And that really, like the wrestling we have now is really like a combination of all three of those styles. There's the English style, but I really think the English style is a lot more like the American style.
It's very similar, yeah.
Yeah, except they don't punch. They do the forearms.
Well, you just see like the old-fashioned like punching, like boxing, like matches where they're just standing here with like their fists like
Yeah.
out in front of them.
That's English style.
Like that's English style, sorry, but
Yeah.
still you have like that traditional, and then it kind of
Yeah.
changes up, and now you have a mixture.
Yeah.
And
And you
Kind of go.
and you have like more of the high flying, high spot maneuvers, and that's more Japanese. Like the WCW brought in the cruiserweights, and you had Jushin Thunder Liger, you had the Great Muta, and then you had Ultimo Dragon that came in and really, and like Chris Jericho, who was Tiger Mask when he was in Japan, and they would bring these maneuvers over, and then you were just like, whoa, like the moonsault, the lion salt.
Yeah, things we've
You
never
know,
seen.
Yeah, we'd never seen before, and every one of them that came in, you were just like, "Whoa!" What the hell was that?
See, that's like as far as like modern wrestling goes, I don't see really any of that if you watch like.
If you watch now, like a good one to watch is AJ Styles. AJ Styles is the perfect example of all of the styles. He's
Okay.
all in one.
Good.
Like he does, crazy maneuvers. Then he'll do, body slam. He'll do, tiger
And basically
bombs.
My question is like I don't know why like WWE doesn't like have more because
'Cause
they said like it's like
Well, it goes
200 moves goes at 20 and then to like 30.
Well, it goes to like this. How much did the Dallas Cowboys pay Tony Romo?
a lot of money.
Do they want Tony Romo running headfirst into linebackers?
No.
So with WWE, they just paid somebody, a couple $1 million. They don't want him doing a moonsault into the crowd.
Yeah, I get you
That's
now.
exactly what it is. Because those maneuvers, they're high spots, and they get a good pop from the crowd, but then you miss, and your neck's broken.
Yeah.
For good example, Sting at WrestleMania. Sting's an old guy, and he's wrestling for the world title against what's the guy's name who used to be in the Shield?
Seth, right?
Seth
Rollins.
Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
And Seth Rollins does a power bomb, like where he power bombs Sting into the corner turnbuckle. Pretty standard maneuver, and it broke one of his vertebrae in his back, and that's the end. That's it. He went numb, went down, and they were like, "Oh shit!" And they literally stopped the match for a second, so the ref could go, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "No." And then they finished the match. They let him finish the match as gingerly as they could,
Yeah.
and now he's retired.
Dang. It's
And
like that one match.
They just brought him in.
when I guess like Stone Cold Steve Austin beat well he basically had to pin him when he was
Oh, that's
already
when he
getting
fought
back.
against Owen Hart, and Owen
Oh.
Hart pile drived him, and he didn't tuck his head,
Yeah.
and he really got pile drived, and it compressed his spine, and broke one of the vertebrae. Yeah, shortened his career, and that's why they won't they're not allowed to do the pile driver anymore. WWE, there's
Really?
yeah, nope.
Damn.
The only person who could do the pile driver is the Undertaker, and he does the tombstone because they trust him. Like the Undertaker is like the WWE's golden child of all time.
Well, yeah.
He's
Well,
got
how
a lot
long
of
has he
experience.
been there?
he's been there for
Since I was
Years.
He's the longest tenured wrestler, I would say, since the 80s.
Yeah, late 80s.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's about right. Yeah.
He's got tenure, man.
Yeah.
Like if he's a
Yeah.
professor.
well,
That's
Have you-
that's one wrestler I do know.
Well, he was also I don't know if you know this. Did you ever hear about Wrestler Court?
Wrestler Court?
Yes.
I have heard of Wrestler Court.
So in WWE, for people that don't know, in what time does the show start? 50 minutes in.
Tell her to come over.
She's in Clovis.
Oh.
6 to 8 every Sunday.
So
Mrs. Burnett.
so
Mrs. Burnett?
there was Wrestler Court in the locker rooms. If there was a wrestler who was doing because WWE, it has a massive locker room full of wrestlers, so they would have if someone new came in and there's unwritten rules of the locker room, and if someone was getting out of hand, they would bring them out of wrestling. They'd bring them in front of Wrestler Court, and the Undertaker was always the judge. And they'd bring them in front of them, and they'd set up like a thing in the, next to the craft services or whatever, and they would literally say, "Hey, this is what he's been doing," da 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 da, and the Undertaker would say, "Okay, well then here's your punishment," and he would hand down a punishment that if the person didn't do, they would throw their shit out of the locker room and would not let them dress in the locker room.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like the Miz didn't get they threw his shit out and he didn't get the dress in the locker room for like 6 months. It's just funny shit.
That'll learn you.
Does stuff like that happen with you guys?
Oh yeah, there's on the road there's a lot of fun antics I guess that go on, and it's weird because you don't, especially when you're in the Indies, you work with all kinds of different people.
Yeah.
It's not like WWE where it's the same 40 guys that just travel all over the world.
Right.
So there's guys that I've worked with dozens and dozens of times, and guys I've probably wrestled with twice, and you just kind of cross paths here and there. And in the early days, there's a lot of drinking.
Oh wow.
Not
Going out to the ring drunk.
No, we were all professionals, so we would go do our
After
show.
party.
Yeah, after the party.
Yeah.
It would just. I think I drank more before I turned 21 than I ever did after.
It's like, oh man, I dislocated my shoulder. I got drunk that night.
That's
though.
what a lot of the old school wrestlers would do.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I'm hurting really bad. Let's just get wasted tonight on whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great stories like that. Not great ones, but a lot of bad ones. We're at the end of the first hour. Let's tease that a little bit. We'll talk some more with Hobo Hank when we come back the next hour. So next Saturday, the 24th, at the Westside Community Center, do you know what time it starts?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. That's that bell time?
That is spell time.
So get there at 6. I'll probably get there a little late because we have a show also
Yeah,
next Saturday.
What time is that?
We're doing the Rail Yards Market. It starts at 4. Another Rail Yards Market. We're doing Alibi Untapped at the Rail Yard.
That's right.
We're going to do a podcast from the Rail Yards. So I'll get there, but I might get there right at 7.
Unless if you're not the opening match, then we'll see you.
Yeah. Well, you don't even have a match scheduled.
I'm sure I'll have a match.
I'm sure you will be there.
I actually saw you on you're the front and foremost on the flyer, so I'm
Yeah.
like, something's gonna happen.
One of the flyers, they've changed it where he's not on one of them.
Oh, that's deception.
But there was Matthew Robles did put out a video calling you out.
That is correct.
Yeah, and I want to hear your thoughts when we come back. So we'll tease that for the second hour. So next Saturday, the 24th, at the Westside Community Center, 7 o'clock. Tickets are $15 for general admission, 20 for second row, and 25 for ringside. Is that right?
That is right. Yep.
Right on.
And actually, for the second hour, I want to hear all the gossip as far as like the worst hated wrestlers in Albuquerque right now.
Oh, you mean like who's the most hated?
The hated.
Yeah.
The most hated.
I will tell you this. Other than you, I root for the bad guys.
Oh, is
I
that
was
right?
going to say
That's
that
right.
too. Yeah.
I do. I root for the bad guys really hardcore. And I have some great stories like just from me growing up because to this day I hate the Undertaker.
Really?
Because I met him. Yeah.
You guys love the heels, huh?
I do. I love the heels. I'm a heel guy. I love the psychology of it. So, and I'll tell you my favorite wrestlers in the DWO. We'll tease that for the second hour. Do you have? So, what's your Facebook page?
It is Hobo Hank ABQ, Facebook.com.
And then the DWO Facebook page. Let's give that some love. I wish you guys, or I wish they. I don't know how much you're integrated in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they had a website. I really do.
There, at one point we did.
Yeah.
A couple years back. But I think most people do tend to use Facebook these days.
Yeah.
So.
Facebook page is facebook.com/DWO Wrestling. And it has, and then their twitter.com account is DWO Wrestling and YouTube DWO Wrestling as well.
Yep.
Like I said, we have a show. It starts at 4 o'clock on Saturday. We have a show at the Rail Yards Market. We're going to do Alibi Untapped, so come out and say hello to us as well. And then afterwards, I'm gonna hustle over and watch Hobo Hank wrestle, or do what Hobo Hank has to do to fight the evil director of competition, Matthew Robles. Anybody else have anything you have something coming up?
Yeah, I'm playing Sidetrack Brewery on September 30th. It's a Friday night.
Nice.
I was there just the other night, and the owner, Ann,
Yeah.
bless Ann, she's like, "You still going to play here?" It's like, well, let me put it in my calendar right now. Shit.
Yeah.
And we did. And I made a flyer today, so going to make an event page here in next couple of days. And yeah, hopefully we'll get some people out to Satchel because that's my favorite brewery in town
Yeah,
at the moment. ATM.
at the moment. And we'll play some Billy's music at the break. So,
Unless do you have a link to your band's page?
oh, do you? Yeah.
There's some stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, let's play it.
Yeah, sure.
Is it like live or is it?
No, it's an album.
What's the name
it's
of
called, the band's called Macadoo, Macadoo.
MAC?
Macadoo.
Okay.
And should be
I'm
a couple
excited.
tracks.
Yeah, because like when you were actually wrestling and you were playing guitar, it's like that guy's playing guitar for real.
Huh.
That's tight.
Do you know which one it is?
None of those.
None of these. Did I spell right?
I do like
MACADOO?
name Macadoo.
Type in
Maybe band.
Texas, TEXAC.
But anyway,
TAX.
I have a show on September 30th.
What's it again?
TEXAC, Texaco.
Oh, the city. Yeah. Macadoo, Texaco. There you go.
And
Oh.
there's the preview. There's the real one. Is the very next one.
Okay. I see. This one here.
There you go.
Awesome. So right on. So yeah, if you guys want to add us on Facebook, Twitter, all that cool stuff, go to tendrinkminimum.com. We have all the social media right there. I want to thank Hobo Hank for coming on for the first hour, and he's also going to stick around for the second hour. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sweet. And we will as well. I want to thank Oscar Blues for sponsoring this episode of 10 Drink Minimum.
Thank you for the delicious beer, Oscar Blues.
So if you guys, if you're a brewery out there and you want to sponsor our show, personal message me at the 10 Drink Minimum Facebook page or on my personal page. Either way. We always drink when we do the show. You should always drink as well. But always remember, never get too drunk to jerk 10drinkminimum.com.
Stopped at the Texaco, outside New Mexico, to call her on the phone. She wasn't home once more. Good night on her machine. Lord, pray her soul's the king. Another night I'll sleep to engines burning gasoline tonight. I'd like to help her through the night, but I'm at least 1,000 miles, where I make everything alright. everything alright. Tuck her in and hold her tight till the break of morning light. I'll make everything alright. I'd like to help her through the night. Sunrise, spend some time somewhere near Nashville. Every night I'd hit my knees and pray that someday I will hold you in my arms, and I'll get a chance for one more dance underneath the stars. And some way you will join me in my dreams, and you'll see the picket fences, they just ain't what they seem. Well, I know true love will find a way, and so someday you will join me in my dreams, and you'll see the neon lights and hotel rooms get so lonely. Well, I know true likes the music at my show. Fans that say they love me just must not know me. To a bus with a black top yard just ain't like home. But someday I will hold you in my arms, and I'll get a chance for one more dance underneath the stars. And someday the black top yard, you will join me in my dreams, and you'll see the picket fences, and just ain't what they seem. Well, I know true love will find a way, and some someday you will join me in my dreams. There's 1,000 miles of asphalt just between the heart and mine, and I'm sure I must have broken yours at least 1,000 times. But someday I will hold you in my arms, and I'll get a chance for one more dance underneath the stars. And someday I will join you in your dreams, and we'll see the picket fences around those fields of green. When I know true love will find a way, and someday I will join you in your dreams, and we'll see the picket fences on outside fields of green. When I know true love will find somewhere not home.
We're starting now if you want to get up and do it.
Okay, well, he
got-
doesn't have enough upline.
Who? Move, what are you moving? Just push it. There you go.
Live from the Santa Barbara neighborhood in Martinez Town, you're listening to 10 Drink Minimum with Chris, Billy, Michael, and Smiley.
All right, welcome back. This is Chris, 10 Drink Minimum. Billy's here, Michael's here. They're off camera. Smiley's on camera, and we have from the Destiny Wrestling Organization superstar Hobo Hank.
Good to be here.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks.
So we were talking a little off mic. Yeah, so other than you, one of my favorite groups to come through and watch on when I go to the Destiny Wrestling shows is PP Ray.
Right.
What does PP Ray stand? What does that mean?
You know, your guess is as good as mine.
Okay.
I really don't know.
Those two guys know how to, like, they're bad guys, first of all. Mm-hmm. They come out. Let me explain what they look like. They're in very good shape. They wear the little Speedos. They have boots on. They wear fanny packs with members-only jackets, and they match. So I don't know where they get these members-only jackets.
Somewhere in LA.
They match.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that they drive from LA to do a show in Albuquerque once a month, because they do a lot of shows with you guys.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah.
I've seen them 3 times.
Yeah.
So 3 times they drove 12 hours to get here and do a wrestling match.
At least, yeah. A lot of these guys travel cross country by car to be part of the show.
Is crazy.
Yeah, I've wrestled guys here in Albuquerque from Illinois, Missouri, all over.
And I mean, and what people are not understanding is they're not making a lot of money doing this.
No.
I know they're not.
No,
I mean, $50 to $100, maybe.
that's fair. Yeah.
That's fair. So for $50 to $100, Billy, would you drive from here to LA to play a show and then drive back?
I've been on tour plenty of times, so yes, that's fair for like. I don't know, but the thing is,
But you're going to a lot of places.
A lot of places, like, for a 2-week tour, $50 a night for 4 people. I'm not even making $50.
This is like, hey, Billy, this weekend, would you drive to LA, play a show, drive back? We're going to give you $100.
If it was fun, yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
If it's something I really love doing, if I get a chance to play,
and
watching Whiskey a Go Go, and
I pay my little $15, and these guys entertain the shit out of me. I think they are the funniest. Just the comedy, like they know the comedy aspect of the game.
They do.
They come out and like the one guy will, they'll get up there on the thing in the corner, and the one guy will still have his members only jacket on. And he'll point at some girl and he'll go, I'm going to take this off. And he goes to take it off. And then he goes, no, I'm not taking it off for you. And he turns around and you laugh. You're like, and they're really good. I don't know how those guys haven't like jumped up a level. And the only thing I can figure out is they're just really short. They're small guys.
They're not large, no.
No. And unfortunately that's a big deal, but they are really good at what they do, and I really entertain. My friend and I both we love that. We think they're the best part. And they do the weird grinding stuff. They'll throw a guy into the ropes, and he's like laying on the ropes, and they'll drape their leg over him and just grind and point at a girl in the crowd, and it's just hilarious. I don't know. So, what is the worst thing that has ever happened to you wrestling?
A couple years ago, it was here in Albuquerque, actually. We were doing a show. It was called Bound by Violence, and it was all hardcore matches. The entire night was booked as hardcore matches, and there was some really off the wall kind of things. I mean, they had matches with Legos and
gross,
VCR tapes and
just stepping on a Lego. I feel cringing doing that.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah,
They're barefoot.
So there was 7 matches that night, and I was the heavyweight champion at the time. It was a tournament, and I was the 6th match of the 7, and I was defending the heavyweight title. And one of the matches prior to me, there was a bed of broken glass outside the ring.
Oh man!
And one of the wrestlers had gotten thrown into the glass, and the glass went all over the ground, all over the floor. And I was actually warned by one of the security guards. I was standing back in the little, the curtain room, getting ready to go out. And he said, "Hey, Hank, be careful out there. There's some glass, so watch yourself." And lo and behold, I was wrestling a guy named El Gringo Loco that night.
Okay.
And
Gringo Loco?
El Gringo
El
Loco.
Gringo Loco.
Yeah.
So crazy white guy.
The crazy white guy. Yeah. He's out of Lubbock. He's a great wrestler. We're outside the ring, about 5 minutes into the match, something like that, and he puts my head, this side of my head, on top of the broken glass, and he steps on my head and grinds it.
Oh no!
And when he did, it severed this artery right here.
Holy shit!
It just laid me wide open, and I almost bled to death right there on the spot.
Shit.
Luckily I had some years behind me, so I was able to stay calm. I finished the match quickly.
Did you finish the match?
I did finish the match, yeah.
That's very well, yeah.
I figured I had a couple minutes,
Yeah.
before it was serious, critical. So I took him in and wrapped him up and pinned him, and then Chad Thomas actually came out to jump me, and I guess he didn't know the severity of the injury, and he just starts wailing on me and doing the thing, and I'm bleeding to death while he's doing it. But obviously I'm fine. So we went.
You lived.
Yeah, I went and got some stitches and
Damn.
good to go. So
Chad Thomas is a wrestler from Amarillo, right?
that's right.
So you guys bring a lot of guys in from Amarillo, right?
We do, yeah. I mean, I think part of that's Amarillo is known for wrestling. It always
Yeah,
has been.
always.
We were talking outside, and
Dory Funk, Terry Funk.
so, yeah, the Funks, and I worked
Funk
for
you.
many years. I worked for Ricky Romero and the Youngbloods,
Youngbloods.
all those guys.
They were
So-
supposed to be from the Mescalero Indian Reservation, but they were actually from Amarillo.
Well, they
Maybe
had family here.
Okay.
That was true. Yeah, I was good friends with Chris Youngblood
Yeah.
for a long time, and
I remember those guys.
yeah. So yeah, I spent a lot of my career in Amarillo. I mean, if I wasn't in El Paso one weekend, I'd be in Amarillo.
Yeah, because there wasn't wrestling here, so you had no choice.
Yeah.
And so, what was I going to talk to you? What was I going to say? So the one thing about the Amarillo wrestlers too, and they have what's the federation that they have over there?
There's actually a few. There's always
In
been-
Amarillo, really?
Yeah. Back when I used to work there would be 3 federations that would kind of battle it out.
Wow.
But I've worked for West Texas Wrestling Legends. Right now, I think the one you're probably referring to is NWA Top of Texas
Okay.
at the WrestlePlex.
Where Chad is that where Chad and them wrestle? out
That's
of?
where Chad, I think, primarily works.
Okay. So what I love is like those guys, you guys bring them in, and they have automatic heat because you're like, oh, they're from Texas,
Right.
and everybody goes, oh, boo. Does that happen when you go over there and wrestle?
Ironically, I've gotten the big crowd response
Yeah.
everywhere I've gone.
But they probably don't go from New Mexico.
No, yeah. To be fair, now when I wrestle out of town, like when I debuted Hobo Hank, I was from the Lomaland overpass in El Paso, Texas, maybe. And in Amarillo, I came from the alley behind the Nat Brawl Room or the alley
Yeah.
behind the WrestlePlex, or where some kind of a local spot.
That's hilarious. That's
I love
hilarious.
that.
But I love how they come in and they immediately have heat because they're all from Amarillo, Texas, and they're all, New Mexico sucks, and they just scream it out, and immediately everybody's like, boo,
Yeah.
fuck you.
Makes for a very easy night. That way.
Easy.
My
Yeah.
my favorite thing to go to a wrestling match here in town, because Chris would always bring it out. It's always the question. I call it the question. It's ask him.
Ask him. Ask him.
Ask him, Ref.
I told Billy, I said, when we go to these wrestling matches, you're going to love the people in the crowd. The crowd people are the best, like, people watching thing. And, like, I always love this because this ties into when I was a kid. And I don't know why they think it's going to happen when you're doing a
Submission?
no, well, not even a submission, but yeah, like what do they call it? It's where you're actually tired and you're taking a break.
Rest hold. Yeah.
Rest hold.
Yeah.
So you're in a rest hold and you're like got him in a headlock, and there's always some dude in the crowd. Ask him, ref. Ask him. Like the ref's like, oh shit, I better ask him. Like he forgot to ask if you're gonna submit, And there's always someone in the crowd that yells for this, right?
The last time I saw you wrestle, there was this guy, and he was just like, he looked like a cop to me. He like big like shaded Oakleys and
Yeah.
a hat, and probably wore like a never forget 9/11 shirt.
Yeah.
Every time we watch him, he's like, "Ask him, ref. Ask him."
Ask
like an
him,
old
ref.
like an old cholo dude.
They always really get into it. They're like, oh, he's got him in he's
A rest
got
hold.
Yeah, he's got his arm tied up. Ask him, ref. Ask him, dude. He's not going to submit to that. He's just going to act like his shoulder hurts.
I love
So
that
when-
question. I call it the question.
Yeah.
Ask him.
So ever since I was a kid, of course, Ric Flair was my hero. So Ric Flair was a bad guy. So I always loved the heat and the bad guy heat. So when I was a kid, also not so much now, but one of my favorite tag team was the Skyscrapers, Sid Vicious and Dangerous Danny Spivey.
Yep.
Well, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know what happened, but now I do as an adult. Sid Vicious, or whatever, Sid Justice, whatever name you know him by, him and Arn Anderson got into a fight for real at the hotel, and Arn Anderson stabbed him in the side and punctured his lung.
What?
Yeah. So Sid Vicious had to take some time off from wrestling because he had a punctured lung. So they brought in this wrestler who was really big and could fit the role in the Skyscrapers. His name was Mean Mark Callis. Well, so all right, cool. I preferred Sid Vicious, but I'll still watch the Skyscrapers. And Mean Mark Callis's finisher was the heart punch. He would grab the wrestler and he'd punch him in the heart as hard as he could. And supposedly they're like, my heart. They fall down. So WCW comes to Clovis, New Mexico, to our little like high school gymnasium. My grandmother, who got me into wrestling, my grandmother and my grandfather would always watch wrestling. They knew it was fake, and literally I would go to my grandma's house, and she'd be like, "Did you see that Ronnie Garvin? I can't believe he took that money and turned on Dusty Rhodes."
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. And I'm like, and I'd look at my grandma like as a kid and be like, kind of like, "Do you not realize this is fake?" But maybe she don't. Maybe she doesn't. But anytime it came anywhere close to us, she would go to the bank where they sold the tickets, wait in line, and get ringside seats.
Nice.
So I had ringside seats. I saw 2 shows growing up. I saw a WWF one, which had the Ultimate Warrior there. Got to see him. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Demolition, the Rougeau brothers, Leapin' Lenny Poffo, who was Randy Savage's brother. Trying to think who else was there. The Junkyard Dog. That was the WWF one. Then the WCW one, which I was always a bigger WCW guy. I always felt like it was a little darker, a little more edgier.
That's where like my favorite wrestler, the Raven, came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he came from EC Dub, but yeah,
Sure.
pretty much WCW. But I got to see Cactus Jack, also known as Mick Foley, or whatever you want to call him.
Dude Love.
Dude Love. I got to see Cactus Jack. I got to see Norman the Lunatic, which he was only around for a little while, and then he went to Mexico and he became Solomon Grundy, and then the Rock and Roll Express versus the Fabulous Freebirds. But it was the later Freebirds. It wasn't the earlier one, sadly. But it was Michael P.S. Hayes and Jimmy Jam Garvin.
Right.
And then Mark Callis versus Ricky Itaki. I don't know who the other guy was. He was some jobber. And the whole time, everybody's like rooting for the jobber guy. And I'm screaming, "Give him the heart punch! Give him the heart punch!" And I'm excited. Also, Barry Windham was there. And so I got this other guy next to me to start screaming, "Give him the heart punch." And I'm rooting for him. So then he does, and he puts the guy out of his misery and pins him. And then I see him and Barry Windham sitting up atop the gymnasium. So I go, and I ask him for his autograph. And he's like, "Sure, kid. I'll give you my autograph here in about 10 minutes. And I'm like excited. So I wait. And then I watch him and Barry Windham go get in a car and just drive away.
Oh man.
And I was like, I will fucking never support that guy again.
Who was that person?
The Undertaker.
The Undertaker.
He can fuck himself till this day. I was 12 years old, man.
That's
Oh,
So I've never supported The Undertaker.
Oh my God.
I call him the Oven Baker.
I would kill to have a grandma who would just buy me those tickets as a kid.
And she would go.
And on like a landline phone, it's like, let me talk to Chris. Chris, did you see that? Can you
Can
believe
you believe
that?
Ronnie Garvin turned on Ric Flair? And they gave him that money, and he was rubbing it all over his body.
Yeah, when I got into it, my watching partner was my grandma too, my great grandma actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's funny because they really like it. Like it's a soap opera.
Yeah,
My late
absolutely.
uncle was really into wrestling, even
Yeah.
till even like the new stuff. Like he would just post about it, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my god, like he died at like 98.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, 89. But yeah, he was always into wrestling.
Wow. It's funny now because like growing up with it, and I'm sure you too, you would always go, "Man, I like that guy. What happened to that dude? Why is he not around? Why did he not get a main event push?" And then you're like reading about him, you're like, "Oh, he had to go to rehab. Oh,
Or he died.
or died. Yeah, or died."
Yeah,
Yeah.
or he did
Or-
too much steroids and had a heart attack.
killed his family. Or
The one that was crazy was like there was a guy in WCW called the Juicer. Did you ever remember that guy?
The juicer. That sounds
Yeah.
really familiar.
And he would do kind of like crazy aerial maneuvers, and he'd pull off his like bandana, and like powder would come out of his hair. He was kind of like a Beetlejuice type character. And I was a
Yeah.
kid, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's great." Well, come to find out, like he was like in Portland wrestling, and he supposedly like slept with a girl that was underage, and like got kicked out of that territory.
Yeah.
So then he moved to like somewhere else, and then WCW hired him, and then they found out about it, and then fired him. And so he went to Mexico, and he actually made a really good living in Mexico. I was like, wow. Matt
Yeah.
Bourne. No, it wasn't Matt Bourne. Who was, I'll look it up.
Yeah, it
now.
wasn't Matt.
No, it wasn't Matt. Though Matt, he's had his demons,
He did.
Yeah.
I liked the Doink character a lot.
Oh
though. I
man,
was a
yeah,
big fan.
you're talking about just like
Yeah.
wrestlers who are either big in the '90s or just had their
Just
career.
had a short run that I was like a kid. And I
in a
was
short
like,
run, you read about these people, like
Yeah,
especially
Art Bar.
Razor Ramon is one of those guys. Who's like,
He
oh,
had a big career.
he had a big career, but then he kind of just like, holy shit, this guy is done with either drugs or just like just
Well,
roided out.
what you didn't see because you caught him at the top. He had a career. He was like a low level guy for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He was the Diamond Stud, and if you watched AWA, he was there with Diamond Dallas Page was his manager. Diamond Dallas Page was a manager for like a long time before he was ever a wrestler, and so he had him as the Diamond Stud, and then I think the Samoan SWAT team as well. Something like that.
I think you're right. Yeah.
There was some tag team they had, and so he was in the business for a long time. And what you don't know is like whenever Kevin Nash came in really late and they became friends in WCW as like low level nobodies, and he taught Kevin Nash a lot, and that's where they became friends. And then they both went to WWF together and then made it. Mm-hmm. But it was like him. He was of him and Kevin Nash. He was the one that was like a wrestler, and Kevin Nash was I'll do 5 moves and be really good on the microphone.
It's like Hulk Hogan. He has his body slam. That's pretty much it.
And the back rake,
Right.
and
No, I'm talking like
clothesline.
Who was it? Like, was it Razor Ramon who was just like dead pretty much, and he just rehab and
He went to rehab, and he just fell apart physically because
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
you have these like stars from
Yeah.
like the '90s. I would say definitely the '90s.
Yeah.
Of just this lexicon of
well,
just,
him and Shawn Michaels, like the Click. The Click is like well renowned in the WWE, and they were like it was him, Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, X-Pac, 1-2-3 Kid, or whatever you want to call him, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. They all traveled together. They were called the Click. Like they were like a group within the wrestling organization, and they were friends, and they would kind of like look out for each other. Well, when Razor and Kevin Nash left, it wasn't like they were like, sorry guys, we're leaving. It was like this part of the Click is going to go down to WCW and be the Click in the South, and they still like talked and everything, and one ruled this organization, one they ruled wrestling for like almost 10 years.
didn't know that.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of documentaries on that WWE Network about the Click, and it's like everyone hated them,
I thought that was NWO.
well, they were NWO.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And then the other part of the Click was Degeneration X. They were all friends, and they talked to each other back and forth. But that's really well. I mean, I'm sure you probably have seen a lot of it.
Oh, sure.
And so they would talk back and forth, to each other, and also like they never were like we're enemies, we're friends, And to this day, they're all still buddies. They still hang out together outside of it, But like, there's all these stories. Like, you can go on YouTube and type in like the Click, and there's like all these wrestlers talking shit about them, like how they hated them.
Who would you say now, from as far as childhood, still can go on to a WWE stage?
From childhood, like from the 80s.
Like Undertaker, obviously, but
Yeah.
wasn't Diamond Dallas Page a part of that for a while?
He was a manager for the most part, and then like he didn't start wrestling until he was like 37, 38 years old.
Shit.
It was something like that, and then he took off really big, And I would say it was really because of the Diamond Cutter. It was such a high profile move.
Which
the,
is like
the RKO.
Which is wasn't like pretty much the Stone Cold Stunner.
It was
Similar,
it was his move first.
Oh, really?
He created it.
He just he'd fall flat instead
Yeah.
of falling on his.
And Stone and then
backside.
Austin did the sit down.
Yeah.
Now what you're not really realizing is two friends that used to travel together were Stone Cold Steve Austin and Diamond Dallas Page.
Oh, shit.
They're
Okay.
buddies, yeah. And so he probably called him and said, "Hey, I'd like to do your move," and then he modified it where he sits down instead of flat,
Oh, yeah.
which also didn't help with the neck injury.
No.
Because it like impacted his spine every time he did it.
Shit.
But that maneuver like put Diamond Dallas Page over the top because he would do it so many different ways, and he became like the Hulk Hogan character of WCW for a little while.
Oh yeah, he was on
Like,
top. for a
yeah,
while.
he was big, and then WWE fucked it all up. Yeah. So, have you ever had like a call up where you did any kind of dark match for any kind of any federation?
Back in 2000, I was on I was on the list for WWE. I got a call back. I had submitted some tapes to ECW, WCW, and WWF at the time.
Wow.
And when I checked back with ECW, I was notified that they were closing down.
Yeah.
And when I
wow.
checked in with WCW, I was notified that they weren't doing any hiring, and found out later that's because they were closing down as well.
Who's this?
WCW.
Oh, WCW. Because
And-
they were getting bought.
Right.
And then, of course, WWE didn't need you because they just got a shitload of people.
Well, at the time, I actually did get a call back from WWF, and they said, "Yeah, we like what you got. We like," and it wasn't even
Nice.
this character; it was the fireman character.
Oh, nice.
But Kevin Kelly was the talent relations
Oh,
guy
okay.
at that point, and Kevin called me and said, "I'd like to put you on this list. We'll talk frequently and see if we can get you up here in about 6 months." But
Yeah.
they wanted me to be at 6% body fat, 240 pounds, which is a
Wow.
lot larger than I am right now.
I'm sorry. How much do they want you?
240.
Shit.
6% body fat.
6% body
That's
fat.
6% body
That's
fat.
about what that sounds about right.
Yeah, so I was working on it. I'd go into the gym every day and all of that. But in the meantime, WCW closed down and they took all of their roster with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just knew at that point there was no way I was going to beat out a bunch of televised wrestlers with merchandise and well-known.
Steroids.
Yeah, steroids.
Sure.
That was back when, before the wellness program.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put on 30 pounds right now. And
You have
that
not
seems like
gained-
impossible.
You have not gained a pound, Smiley.
I've gained 5 pounds.
Not a pound, 5.
I've gained 5
5
pounds.
So-
I can't even imagine.
Actually, can I actually ask you about your diet regimen when you were trying to do it? 5,000 calories, 10,000 calories a day.
Yeah, it was. I was eating a lot. It was probably 5,000-6,000 calories a day.
Shit.
We were going to the gym 6 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I ever would have gotten that physique. I really don't think.
Yeah.
I just don't think I'm genetically made for that.
And
so,
that's what sucks. It's
Yeah.
like some of it is that. But there are some of those people, like clearly, they talk about Vince McMahon, loves like big muscled wrestlers,
Mhm.
and you have the guys that have busted through, like Chris Jericho.
God, even Mick
RVD.
Foley doesn't have that body.
No,
it's rare that most of those guys, if you think about it, they all got made somewhere else. They all became them, the mega star elsewhere, and then they were brought in.
right?
It's rare that WWF or a WWE takes a chance on someone that's unknown, that's not giant. That's
They
not.
didn't even want, supposedly rumored, they didn't even want Daniel Bryan.
Right.
They didn't want him to, Vince didn't want him for the world title, but the crowd was so adamant that they loved him.
Oh, right. I mean, a guy like Rey Mysterio never would have had a shot.
Right.
Unless he had been such a mega star in WCW prior to.
That's
so.
true, yeah. And then Sin Cara, do you know the story behind that guy?
Sin Cara, no.
He was a big wrestler in Mexico. They brought him over, and he wore a mask. So I guess they had some problems with him backstage, or something happened. They didn't like him. So they fired him, and then just brought someone else in, put the mask on him, and called him Sin Cara.
Took the gimmick, yeah.
Yeah. And he ended up suing him, of course.
Yeah?
Won, but then they settled, and so they still have Sin Cara, but it's not the original guy.
Sure.
Very weird.
Oh, it's
Dread
Yeah.
Pat Roberts.
How often? Okay,
wrestling.
how often does this happen in DWO? You have a guy that wrestles earlier on in the show, goes back in the back, puts on a mask, other tights, comes back, wrestles again as a different character.
So I used to do that all the time.
I know that
But
happens.
not here, not in DWO.
No?
We have a pretty big roster, and there's a long line of guys that want to actually work for DWO. I mean, they drive all the way
Okay.
from California, but back in the days, especially when I was on the reservations and
Yeah.
all that, yeah, we would take the smallest group possible. I would put on, not me personally, but we would put on a show with 6 guys on it, and
Wow.
4 of us would wrestle twice. We would just put a mask, no mask, and go out there and do a whole nother match
That's
again.
gotta be rough.
Yeah, it cuts down the payroll. It is rough for
Yeah.
sure. Just wrestling once a night's tough, but
Yeah.
having 2 or 3 matches is definitely brutal.
After you're done wrestling for the night, what how much pain are you in?
It depends on the night for sure. What you've done. There's always pain though. It always hurts. The next morning's usually harder than that night because that
Yeah.
night you leave and you're feeling pretty good. You just signed
Yeah.
a bunch of autographs, took pictures, and
Yeah.
Normally I'll go out and have dinner with the family or something after the show, but
Nice.
that next morning, waking up is definitely brutal. It takes a few minutes to get out of bed, and especially as the years pile on, because
Yeah.
a couple hundred matches into it, you start creaking and cracking a little bit.
Can I ask about how training works? Like, okay, so I have this move that I really want to try out, or this my signature move. How many times do you have to replicate it to actually get it right? And just kind of before a match, is there okay, so I work out like an hour a day just on this move, or do you already know these moves in general?
That's a good question. It's kind of like dancing in a way, where you want to learn some basic maneuvers, and a lot of moves, delivering them or taking them are similar. So taking a suplex, vertical suplex is not much different than taking a body slam, really, when you think about it, because you're landing flat on your back. So the land is the same, and the way that you execute is pretty similar.
Yeah.
So we really work on the basics, but in training, it depends on the guy. There's some guys that just have a really natural athletic knack,
Yeah.
and they can just
In
come
balance, in
Yeah.
coordination and
The Rock.
little gymnasts, they can do
Yeah.
all these flips and stuff. And so with guys like that, most of your time is dedicated to teaching them the art, the craft, the psychology, the pacing. That's a cool move, but let me show you when to do that. You don't do that
Right.
at the beginning of the match.
I mean, are there
No, you build
cues?
up to that.
Are there cues in the ring? Like you're just like, okay, so this is going to happen, or do you have it choreographed?
Well, you guys talk, right?
Well, there's a lot of different ways. And I don't feel bad talking about it anymore
Breaking
because
kayfabe.
everybody has,
Yeah.
talked about this. It's been everywhere. So, but different schools, different places teach different methods of doing it, and there are definitely guys out there that have to talk their way through matches. No different than I'm sitting here with him. They would flat out say, "Give me a clothesline." And,
Yeah.
you'd be
And-
surprised what you can't hear as a fan.
I know, but the thing is, like now I watch a match and there's mics on stage.
Yeah.
As far as like whatever you're watching a Thursday night
Yeah.
match on like TNT.
Well, you're talking
So
about
then you
people
can
that are
kind of hear it.
yeah, but you're also talking people that are pros that are not.
Okay.
Sure, and they do that. I mean, they still do it. They
So-
get away with it.
I just want to know there were cues like, okay, I'm going to tap your leg twice, and then this is going to happen or something.
Not exactly, because you're working with different guys all the time. And,
Oh yeah.
You may have the benefit of touring with one guy multiple nights, and so maybe you can kind of get a feel for one another. There are guys that have learned to do it move for move, scripted. So we would have to sit down and talk out every single
Okay.
part.
That's
Wow.
Personally, I do not do that.
So it's improv pretty much for you.
For me, absolutely. Yeah,
Nice.
when I come out, I don't even know what I'm going to do, let alone
Oh wow,
the
that's
crowd.
so tight.
Yeah.
What do you,
So-
what do you think my chances are if I wanted to start doing this?
if you wanted to wrestle. I've seen guys to all different ages and shapes and sizes do really well. It
I
really
have-
depends.
I have 20 years professional dance.
Well, I think you'd have a leg up on some other guys. That's a pun. So. No, I think if you're mentally tough as well as physically
Yeah.
tough, and you gotta love it, because it hurts way more than you think it does.
In the cardiovascular part of it's big.
It's huge.
Running the ropes, right?
Oh
Yeah.
man, like I imagine I would go in like 2 minutes in, I'd be out of breath, and I'd be
Yeah.
like Yokozuna. It's like, okay, so
It's amazing that like people like Yokozuna can do it. That blew my mind.
It is. There's, that's a problem too. You see with a lot of young guys is, even though they're in great physical condition and they think they can go for an hour, they get out there and it's the mental breakdown that occurs. That when you actually have several hundred or 1,000 or however many people looking at you, if you don't know how to handle that right. Your heart starts racing and
Yeah.
you start getting
Stage fright.
nervous. You get stage fright, exactly, and you start
And-
panicking. You start breathing fast, and before you know it, I've seen guys half my age just choking for breath 5 minutes in.
Wow.
And it's as much mental as it is
See,
physical.
that's
I think.
what I think is amazing, and I believe that kayfabe, the destruction of kayfabe, actually helped this. Was like realizing really what goes into the actual product because people didn't know before, and I really feel like there's no way anybody would have ever like if been able to keep kayfabe alive with the internet. I mean, it's almost like a foregone conclusion that it was going to end. And I think that people were afraid, like, if people find out it's really fake, they're not going to like it anymore. And I actually feel like once they found out it was fake, there was people that were like, wow, this is actually pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And it's intense. And just watching, like, the Tough Enoughs and NXT, I watched the stuff. Literally learning, like, how they train to become a wrestler made me have more, like when I watch a match now, I'm like, holy shit. Like, it's funny because, like, you guys get calloused. Your body gets calloused.
Right.
And that's weird to say, but, like, what is it right under here from the ropes?
Yeah, you get used to it.
Yeah, like, because you hit the ropes with the same side, right?
Oh yeah, like Fight
Yeah.
Club, the movie taught us this. That you get toughened up after
Right.
a while.
Yeah.
Well, and like for them, when they run the ropes, they actually hit the same like area of their body, and you get that little bruise. That, you know, and even they lift up
It's
their
like
arm.
the side back cauliflower ear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and eventually you develop different instincts. Before
Ugh.
your first instinct is put your hands down, and
I don't know if you really want any of this. This is
It's
know.
hobo wine. Hobo Hank, you have to take a
I
take a
kind of
swig.
feel obligated.
Okay.
So
So, how long did it take you to get in ring shape to wrestle the first time?
oh, that is awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not a sponsor, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's great. These guys are good though, just for the record. They should make a Hobo Hank Pilsner or
A
something.
whole
That'd
Hank
be cool.
Pilsner. Yeah.
I think we know the distributors.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let them know if they do it and they stick my picture on the
Yeah.
can. I'll go down there for signings or
Nice.
ribbon cuttings or whatever.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm sorry. What was the question?
So how long once you started
Oh.
training? How long were you training before you got that first match? Actually, that's a better question.
I trained for about 6 months before they booked me my first match.
That's about right.
Well, my first match though, I was booked in Texas, and I was 15 years old.
Holy shit, man!
Or
You-
I was 16 years old.
You
I'm sorry.
really like some wrestling.
Yeah, I started when I was 15, and I had turned 16 by that time, and they took me. And that's why the mask, because I was
Yeah.
underage.
Oh shit!
So we drove all the way out to it was Morton, Texas, this little tiny town in the west side of Texas, and I was scheduled. I don't even remember who I was scheduled to face that night, but I got
oh really?
there.
You don't remember your first match?
Well, I didn't actually have a match because somebody tipped off the local sheriffs that I was underage and I was about to participate in wrestling.
Why?
So they came down and we went through the whole questioning and we made
Was
up a
it
story.
your mom? Who would freaking do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know who it was. Probably
He's
somebody that
not
had.
old enough.
It was probably somebody that had heat with the promoter. I mean, promoters
Yeah.
like to do that to each other. So
Yeah.
we told him I was just there to photograph the match. I didn't end up wrestling that night. So my first match came about 3 or 4 months later.
Okay.
But I was still 16
Who-
years old.
Who was your first match with?
My first match was supposed to be a handicapped tag match. So it would have been 3 of us, and we were the good guys against the 2 heels. And that was in Hobbs, New Mexico.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah, that was at the Boys Club or
Yeah,
YMCA
yeah.
Club or something in Hobbs. And when I got there, they actually added a 6th man, so it was a 3-on-3 match.
A 3-on-3 match.
And then I did a battle royal that same night.
Oh my goodness!
So-
When were you eliminated?
Probably about halfway through, and I know I've told this story before, but when I got eliminated, they threw me out, and I went over the top rope, and I hit. There was PA speakers were down right next to the
Oh
ring.
shit!
Oh
And I
God!
hit the PA speakers, knocked them over, and I pulled all the wiring out, and there was sparks flying from the PA system, and I knocked out the whole house PA, which was a little embarrassing. Your first show out
Yeah.
there, 16 years old. I was a skinny little guy too. I
Aw.
was probably 170 pounds. But it was still a good experience. It was the first time I got to get out there in front of some people and give it a shot.
That's awesome.
That was cool.
I mean, how did you feel like after the match? Were you like, yes?
Yeah, I felt very accomplished, man, because I wanted, as an 8-year-old child, when people would ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I said I wanted to be either a musician or a wrestler.
Yeah.
I said a
And-
wrestler when I was like 6 years old. I was like, I want to be a professional wrestler.
Yeah, and so many guys do, but I meant it, and that is what I wanted to do, and so I knew that I couldn't go to my grave without actually accomplishing it, and
Trying it out.
yeah, so it felt pretty cool.
I want to know how many times you get recognized just walking around Albuquerque.
Yeah, that happens.
Once a week? Twice a week?
Maybe every other week, something like that. And it's always at the weirdest
About
times
same.
too.
Yeah.
I'm always out with the family, and I'm, at the Isotopes game, or I'm at the fair, or something.
Hobo!
Well, let me tell you right now. There is a lot of good people, like cordial people, who will not mention you. Like, the thing is, I'll see somebody's like, that's fucking
Yeah.
Steve Sucker from...
Yeah.
But I won't say anything to him.
Yeah.
But there's those people like, that's fucking Hobo Hank right there.
Sure, I do catch that too. Yeah, I'll see people
Look,
whispering
someone
and stuff.
gave him
and-
tickets to the game. Aww.
Yeah, and anytime I see that, I take the time. Even if I'm with the family or whatever,
He's with Mrs. Hobo.
we'll take pictures. Or I was in the restroom at a Buffalo Wild Wings not too long ago, and standing there at the urinal, and some kid's head pokes around the urinal. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, you're Hobo Hank!" And I said, "If you give me 2 minutes, I'll talk to you all you want, man."
It takes me 2 minutes
kinda-
to piss.
kinda
'cause
my-
I'm a big...
Kind of my
fucking
private
bladder.
time. I need to wash my hands
Yeah.
before we have this conversation. But
Yeah.
no, it's cool, and I've never ever forgotten what it was like to be a kid and a fan.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I
Good.
paid for third row seats, and
You hear that, Undertaker?
Taking all his lawnmower money to just watch the wrestling match that
Yeah.
week.
All right.
yeah, saving up your $18 it used
Yeah.
to be to go sit ringside.
Shit, yeah.
I mean, back then to meet a wrestler would have just blown my mind.
Oh, my God, yeah.
So
I would have lost my shit if I actually did see,
Yeah.
like...
When
the
I went to those
Raven.
things, I would love to have met. I mean, the Freebirds. I mean, the original Freebirds. When I was a young kid, I thought the Freebirds, they came out. It was Jimmy Jam. It was Michael P.S. Hayes, Buddy Rogers, and what's his name? Terry Bam Bam Gordy. And I would watch them versus the Von Erichs.
yeah.
And I fucking hated the Von Erichs. I'm sorry. I did. I know they're all dead. But, I rooted for the bad guys. And I always felt like the Von Erichs were like the pretty boys. And so when I got to see the Freebirds, but it wasn't the original ones, I was still super stoked. Even though I did like the Rock and Roll Express, I rooted for the Freebirds.
yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
tag team.
Well, I guess I was like, if I were like 15 or 12, I would have lost my
Yeah.
shit to see like the Road Warriors or the Steiner.
Oh, the Road Warriors. Oh, my God.
The
The Road Warriors.
Steiners.
The Steiners, there's nobody finer than Scott Steiner.
And what was that thing about the hump?
Oh, no. The only thing I have left in this world are my freaks and my peaks. God, he got ridiculous. Like, Scott Steiner, I don't know what's going on there. But
Could you see yourself at that kind of like a muscle regiment? It's like, oh,
That was
we
ridiculous.
have Hobo Hank, and he just has peaks.
just ripping
Yeah.
through his jacket.
I thought
he
it was.
has like 0 balls left. They've shrunk to like
Oh.
size of peas.
I love this. Okay, so one of my favorite recent, like I went to a DWO show, and I don't know the guy's name, but I loved the gimmick of like making him a villain. His whole gimmick was, I'm a vegan.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love that. I
And he
would
comes
love.
out and he's all, I want all you meat eaters to shut your mouths, and he has a little man bun on the top of his head.
I thought that was genius.
I love that.
So good. And so he gets in a headlock. Someone gets him in a headlock, and he's all, watch my man bun. And of course the crowd is like, boo,
Oh, of course, that the crowd is not. I would say one vegan went
It
to
was so good.
went to a wrestling show in the last 10 years.
I laughed
And
so
you're like,
hard,
the
man.
fuck is this?
And if like at 41 years old, 35 years watching the business, you can make me laugh and show me something I've never seen, I'm like ecstatic, and I'm like, this is great.
Yeah, that's thinking outside the box, man.
Yeah. And he's like, watch my man bun. And he was a big dude. He was muscled, and he's like, I want all you eat eaters to shut your mouths.
And
Yeah.
here's a question. Do women come to the DWO?
Big time. Big time.
And just be like, hey, I want to wrestle. How can it
Oh,
happen?
one of my favorite matches you guys had recently. Oh my gosh, it was what is the one? The crazy lady,
Crazy Mary Dobson.
Crazy Mary Dobson
Yeah.
versus. It was like an Asian.
That was Jade from TNA.
Jade from TNA. One of the best matches of the night.
Absolutely.
Hands down. I was
Absolutely.
with my dad.
Yeah.
And that match, see, that's the thing with women's wrestling, is like back in the day when you had Moolah and